Hello, my name is Justin Bright, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program version 1.2.2, in which I am attempting to make kerbals a multiplanetary species. In this case, I am working with our warp skiff that we have landed on Eeloo right next to the far horizons. Alright, so I've done a little bit of calculation on how long this is going, the far horizons takes to drill up Karborundum, and I get something like per drill I get 0.0005 per day, or per second. So 0.001 per second for both drills, which comes out to something like 3 per hour ish, 3.6 or something like that. Which means that it's going to take on the order of 100 or so days to actually fill up the Karborundum tank on the warp skiff of 4,500 units. So what I think I'm going to do is I need to look for another constraint, basically, and that is that we have 21 days of habitation time left in this little thing, because this is not meant to be a long-term vessel, basically. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to let these guys hang out for about 20-ish days, 19 days, and then they are going to take all of the Karborundum they can and get up and go. And they're going to head back home with their bounty of science and Karborundum that I will now have in orbit around Kerbin in a warp skiff to do things with. So we'll have to figure out what else we can do with this thing. Alright, so we are dropping in now a couple of do-it-yourself kits on the Minmus Shipyards. I know, yes, once again, we are building things here. But I wanted to kind of close the loop, so to speak, on that, on my efficiency issue that I discovered with my smelting. So what we are going to do is we have a couple of money boxes here, commodity return vehicles. So let's go ahead and detach one of those and come in a little bit further and further away. I don't want these hitting each other. And detach. Very nice. Now this little one here is a smelter tower. So I have a couple of smelters that I'm going to be putting together. And let's see, where can I put this that is convenient, that will actually work on this big gigantic base sprawling thing. I think going forward I'm going to try to make more bases that are a little bit less connected. But I'm just not sure how to make that work. It feels like the most efficient way to do things is to have everything connected and have all the bonuses kind of work together. But I think you probably get better results by doing things a little bit more separated. Alright, so we are coming in. I think I'm just going to attach it off to the side here. So that should be relatively good. Detach. Boom, there we go. Cool. So, now here's the other nice thing, is I've set this thing up. Somebody informed me that I am being a goof by by trying to disassemble all of my vessels a single part at a time when there are demolition charges that are specifically for that purpose, and they actually work with the recycling, in theory. So I'm going to be trying that on this one, because I've never liked having to try to take everything apart piece by piece. So let's get this down in a convenient place, and then we can leave that be. And poink, there we go. So now we can also, while we're at it, planetary logistics, local logistics, push the liquid fuel into, or out of the do-it-yourself lander, because we will not be needing it, and we might as well keep it. Okay, wonderful. Now let's try breaking stuff first. That seems like fun. All right, so you come on over, and I've got this demolition charge selected. Recycle vessel. Yeah, save the game. Okay, cool. Recycle vessel. Kaboom! Oh my gosh! Oh no, I was out of space! What happened? How did I run out of space in this huge thing? Oh, well, that's fine. Now I know how to do it, so that's wonderful. I feel so silly. Like, there's so many features like that that I feel like I just miss, and then people are watching and they're like, Justin, honestly, what are you doing? Come on. Alright, so we are all set up here. Let's see. We are still creating things, all sorts of things. Machinery, that's good. I am needing some extra machinery. How am I doing on material kits? Yeah, I have no idea how I lost some material kits, even though I blew that thing up over here. Because this is all one vessel, so the center of this vessel should be here-ish? I have no idea. So whatever, I'm not going to worry about that. But now we are going to be building things. So first things first, let's open the construction window. Okie dokie. And deploy this smelter tower. Save the game again. Compulsively, that's fine, and deploy. And then we can deploy also the commodity return vehicles. Yes, very nice. Zoop. And they wobble, but they do not fall down, and then they become fixed eventually. There we go. Okay, so that one's fixed. Very nice. So let's take a look at how long this is going to take. Okay, so just 5,000 material kits and 74 Kerbal hours, I suppose. So I can just add that to the list and construct the kit. All right, so about 5 hours. All right, so the construction should be completed. So let's take a look. Beautiful. Smelter tower complete. Let's check the resources. Well, I can push stuff over. Well, no, all the machinery should be in here. Well, because I shipped this up with no machinery, obviously, so I need to make sure that I'm not wrecking anything by moving machinery into this. So we will have to be a little bit more careful about that, I think. So let's just go ahead and launch. Ta-da! It's sideways. Huzzah! Whoa, it's bouncing into the air. No! Why? Then there's nothing I can do. Sigh. Great. This thing is many tons, so I'm not actually going to be able to lift this in any way. Unless I bring all of the Kerbals out to team lift this stupid thing. Alright, so I discovered that for some reason these things built with the machinery in them. I thought that I had very specifically taken them out, but I guess it did not. So that means they are 11 tons and are a giant pain in my butt. But what I can do is I am using Kerbal attachment system pipes to move stuff over, to move the material kits out, or the machinery that is out, and then I am just going to put this pipe back in place over on the oops, actually grab please, which should bring this back down to 3 or 4 tons, which is once again movable. Okay, so I've got my connections back to the original vessel all linked back up. We have the place that we want to put this thing. Let's see. Too far away. All right, a little bit closer. There we go. Okay, so on the bottom node, should be able to attach. Which way would this face? That looks right. There we go. Okay. Now, oh, that's too far away. Yeah, we're gonna have to do some shenanigans here. Okay, so now it is attached correctly. Huzzah! Very exciting. So now I just need to make a linkage, and I don't think I actually have any more of these flexo tubes, so I'm gonna have to go make one really quick in the OSE workshop. Let's open the workbench. Here we go. And we'll just make ourselves one of those, and that should be done in just a moment, it looks like. Pretty quick build. Here, while that finishes, everybody else back inside. Alright, so we got that one attached over there. And then it's just a matter of link the comp. There we go. So now we have some shiny new smelters attached, and now it's just a matter of getting the machinery back into them, which shouldn't be a problem. That should happen normally with maintenance. And yeah, then we will be able to take another look at our percentages. Alright, so everybody is where they should be, and it looks like this thing automatically had the maintenance done, so we are at 2,000 machinery once again. So, let's open up metals, polymers, chemicals. That's not actually what we need in the end here, so shoot, I actually need to get Desley back out again. Alright, so we need silicon, chemicals, and refined exotics. So that's what we need. 2 lines of chemicals, and then 1 of everything else in the industrial refineries. Alright, so Desley is back on board. And let's go ahead and silicon and refined exotics. Take a look at what those percentages are going to be. So we're looking at about 400 and... Yep, see, now that things are started, 418% for each of these. And then going back to the explainer, this is what we went over last time, where we have just a very small amount of smelter action happening as efficiency, and then a huge number of things using that percentage. So we have an efficiency part bonus of 1.25. So let's turn this off. And let's go turn these on. Smelter, smelter, smelter. Boom. 300% load. Boom, 300% load. And 662%. That's a little better. That's not as much more as I was hoping, but that's, I guess that'll be fine. So let's take a look. So each one of those adds only 3.7. Which is less than I was hoping. That has a huge amount of machinery, kind of like these inflatable workshops. So I was hoping we were going to get that big, like 15 times bonus like these seem to give. But I guess this will work. This helps anyways. So now we are at 1.53 instead of 1.25. So that's better. Oh gosh, all that work, and that was kind of underwhelming. But this is the way we need to go. We need to have a lot of these material processing units set on Smelter for this to really work, I think. There may be other ways to... let's make sure our ground tether is on. There are probably other ways to increase our percentage here, but I'm just not sure what they are. So we'll just work with this, and hopefully... yeah, looks like we're doing okay on polymers, but not metals. We are making everything, right? 662, 662. Metals, metallic ore, substrate. Where's chemicals at? Chemicals. So yeah, we're still losing a little bit of everything. We've changed practically nothing. Chemicals is still going down a bit, still being used faster than they're being created, so that's not great, but well, there you go. We've improved our lot in life at least a little bit, so that's good. All right, so a little bit later on, we are back at the Far Horizons and the Warp Skiff. So let's go into local logistics, take a look at how we did, and yeah, it was about right as far as how much Karborundum was dug up. We only got about another 400 units or so in the time that, in the 20 or so days that we time warped. So we're just going to transfer all of that delicious Karborundum to the warp skiff because there's no actual need to send the Far Horizons back home yet. So yeah, I guess we'll just be leaving this one here for now. The Far Horizons can sit and keep digging. It's probably full, should be full of ore by now. Yeah, so just about full of ore, and then it is going to just be digging up lots of Karborundum for it to be able to use, or to pass off to the warp skiff if the warp skiff ends up coming up here first. But the important thing is that gives the warp skiff 118,000 meters per second of fusion drive delta V. So this is kind of what I was talking about when in a couple episodes past I talked about how the fusion drive had a lot higher potential for delta V than the torch drive seemed to. Just by having more Karborundum, and this is like several million funds worth of Karborundum, like lots of millions of funds worth of Karborundum. So this is a ton of money, but this will get us just so far. So that's pretty darn cool. All right, so now it's just a matter of getting them back home before they get too lonely, because they're almost out of habitation time, so they need to be rotated back out. So let's save the game. And then we can slowly throttle up with our fusion drive and take off over Eeloo, sending off the crew of the warp skiff, who took just 20 days worth of time to spend some time digging. Might as well just go straight up. Gravity isn't that... I don't think I'm going to lose that many meters per second of delta V to gravity, but we just need to go straight up until we hit 315 kilometers. Alright, so we are over the top of Eeloo with our warp drive activated, so now it's just a matter of getting back home. So let's turn this on, back to target selection, flip on to Kerbin, point that direction. Turn this back off so it doesn't break anything. And away we go. So, as you may have seen, with the way that this works, with the conservation of velocity and the way that it works with needing massive burns or very careful tricks with gravity and other things just to get into orbits and rendezvous, I feel like this is not completely unbalanced. I feel like having to deal with those things makes this a choice as opposed to something that is like, well, of course I'm going to use this. I will always use this. Why would I not use this? And that's kind of how I define balance in my own mind. Alright, so we are getting in nice and close. Please be careful. We have flown straight past. What's going on? Alright, I think it has lagged through the sphere of influence of Kerbin. That's pretty cool. Let's point back at it, if you don't mind. But yeah, that's kind of how I define balance in my own head, is if this is something that becomes an option or something that I can do, not something I have to do, then it's at least balanced enough that it's not going to... Oh, geez. That it's not going to, like, ruin anything for me, you know what I mean? Kerbin, where are you? I am having a really hard time with this. Point at Kerbin, please. It keeps lagging just slightly, and then the tiniest tap of the throttle sends me hurtling out. Alright, so it looks like we are inside the sphere of influence once again. And once again, we are going really fast relative to Kerbin's frame of reference. Alright, so we are at 700 kilometers, and we have a 8,000 meter per second burn, but we are actually not in a really good position, and I'm not sure if we're actually orbiting in the right direction either. So let me just slide on past and back out to warp drive range. There we are. Turn that off. There, let's be a little bit more careful about where we are and where we're going here. So we need to be over on this side, I think. All right, so now we will be orbiting in the right direction when we flip backwards. And then we just zip back in time, basically. Very nice. Okay, so what's this gonna take? With the correct engine, please. There we go. That's gonna be a 15-minute burn, so we're gonna have to do this a couple times. So I will be right back with that. All right, so we've got ourselves into a pretty, well, we're pretty close to capturing orbit. So what I would want to do at this point, before I commit, I would like to actually use the warp drive to get ourselves into a better matching orbit, because we can just translate down instead of using our Karborundum to match our inclinations. See, our relative inclination is changing ever so slowly here. There, so I'm now at the descending node, which means if I were to burn now, I think, I could actually fix our inclination. Takes one variable out of the equation as far as us meeting up. So yeah, the joys of having a warp drive in addition to all the other normal tools that you might have. Yep, there we go, relative inclination 0.06, that's pretty darn nice. So let's see, what is the other best way of making this orbit inwards, because I'm not going to be able to reach it directly with the warp drive, because the cutoff is just below us here, so I'm not really going to be able to get in quite like that. So what I might do, in fact, is push myself along my retrograde vector and then in towards the planet. I think radial inwards. There we go. That's what we're talking about. All right, so I think I should be able to now... Uh-oh, did I get too close? I did get too close. Alright, so we should just kind of sweep through here, but this is fine. Womp womp. Pretty close. Pretty darn close. We'll catch it on the next time. Alright, so we are trying this little maneuver one more time. So I should, now that I'm farther away, I should be able to just translate along this path. Oops. In either direction to see... to get myself to the exact location that it would take to make this rendezvous. So I'm kind of doing orbital mechanics a little bit backwards now. If I am to, if in normal orbital mechanics I am using thrust to change my orbit over time to be at a certain place at a certain time, I'm kind of working backwards from that. I am going to be in a certain place at a certain time to make whatever my current speed and other parameters are be what I need them to be. And that is the power of the warp drive. Because with the warp drive, so long as I do it a little bit far out from the planet, I can be wherever I need to be. Alright, so now we have a trajectory where I am going to fall in towards Kerbin, and I will be about a 1 kilometer per second burn away from 1.9 kilometers of separation, which should be just fine. So I am going to switch on my Karborundum engine, F5 for safety, and we are going to go ahead and fall in towards Kerbin. So what we are intercepting right now is one of those old crew return vehicles that I left in orbit a while back. So we should be able to have these two grab their science and bring that on down. Alright, and then they are gently coming together. Turn off SAS and everything. And ka-chunk. Easy peasy. Alright. So now it's just a matter of... Oh wow. This thing has a lot... just because of all the space this thing has in it. Oh my gosh, did I never turned on the habitat. Oh my goodness. I thought that I had planned for a whole lot more orbit time for... So this thing has a lot more time than I thought it did because I forgot to turn everything on. Oh my goodness. So I didn't have the life support on in the salamander pod. I didn't have, which I think is just a recycler, and I didn't have the hitchhiker storage container set up for habitation. So they had to come home in just a couple days, but that's fine. I'd still like to get this crew rotated out just to demonstrate that that's a thing that we can do. So let's see, does this thing have the fuel to get home? Yes, it looks like it does. I'm going to save my game anyways. We are going to transfer, I think, any supplies that you have extra into the this one, into our warp skiff for safekeeping. So let's go science, transfer the science into the Lithobrake command pod, please and thank you, very nice. Now we are going to transfer supplies. Okay, we have just mini packs all day long everywhere, so that's difficult to determine which is which, but the 55s look like they are on the warp skiff, so we are looking for the 44s. For the sending side, yes. Okay, so we are going to send that from here to... There we go. So there should be no supplies in here. Beautiful, there's not. Okay, all right. So we have the science, review stored data, beautiful. We have our crew, and this thing is in a lovely orbit here, so it will stay put. And finally, let's move over our actual Kerbal astronauts to the return pod. So we've got science, we've got our Kerbals, we have fuel, and we have the supplies moved over. Very nice. So let's go ahead and get this thing back in. So this thing just kind of comes off a little bit, and here we go. Oh, and there's the Kerbal Space Center here at the back end on the other side of the planet, so we should be able to make a landing there if we're careful. I think I actually have this, the trajectories is telling me that I'll land there on my next orbit, which is not what I'm looking for. I would like to land right away, please and thank you. So this thing does not decouple or anything like that. This thing just kind of comes in on its on the Poodle engine back here and counts on the fact that it's not going all that fast. So fingers crossed that this all works. Oh god, it didn't all work. Who didn't have their fingers crossed? Alright, so this thing tends to be not aerodynamically stable, so it wound up kind of pointing like a bullet down the long axis instead of coming in on the Poodle, but we think we finally got it under control. Where did we end up? Well, not too far. We're in the grasslands to the west of the Space Center. That's not so bad. Whew. Okay, so this is not a safe system. We are going to not be using this one in the future. Goodness gracious. Alright, so we have landed safely on our little Poodle engine here, and let's recover before this thing falls over. Alright, so we have gotten out of that 4,220 science, which should be plenty for us to finish out that strategy that I was talking about before. Very exciting. And just a little bit of funds, and most importantly, we got Carrie and Dassy Kerman at level 4 from that planting a flag on Elu. All right, so jumping into the administration building. Let's see, which one is this? It's patents licensing, 5% science from contracts, 5% science from field work. Ba-doom. So this is going to give us funds for every science that we would have gotten from now on. Accept strategy. Are you sure you want to activate it? It can't be modified. Set up 2700 science. Boom, all my science is now going to be money. So now we just have the one currency to worry about, which is nice. Now I think, isn't there... Yeah, I can sell what science I have. 2499.3 for 129,000 funds, so that's garbage. Oh well. There's nothing else for us to use science for in this particular save, so okay. Alright, so that leaves us with some money, some no science left, and all of our incoming science is going to just turn into more money to help us fund our program and get more Alcubierre drives and more torch drives and fusion drives and all that other sort of thing. So that is actually all the time I have for today. So if you enjoyed this episode, please share and subscribe, and I will see you next time.